Today I'm going to talk about how to change the things that typically aren't going to change. If you're human, which I know you are, you would have dealt with things in your life that just happen. There's ways that you be that you just can't understand. For me, for many, many years, I would continue to eat unhealthy food when I knew I was supposed to eat healthier. I would do those self-sabotage behaviors over and over and over. And I would read books and I would be told different things and ways to do it. Yet the same thing kept happening over and over and over. What I want to share with you today is something that really did change my life. It was a new way to start looking at things and a tool that I use almost daily now that I was completely unaware of. Now, before I can tell you the tool, I need to explain something that our brains do. Now, there's no real neuroscience that I know of behind this. I'm sure there is plenty of stuff out there in studies, but I'm just going to explain it from my personal perspective and how I view it. To make things simple, we tend to look at the world in generalizations. It's the same way you look at something and you say, oh yeah, girls do this, boys do that. You might think, oh yeah, older people do this, younger people do that. You might have those sorts of things about those sorts of cars. Certain cars are faster or slower or better quality. We bundle everything together. So we could do it with objects and that sort of stuff. But the other way we do it is we do it with complex things. Even with food, you've got healthy foods and unhealthy foods. There's so much more complexity to the world than just it's healthy or it's not healthy. So we get these very generalized way of looking at things where we put things into buckets. You know, growing up, I had a fat bucket and a skinny bucket. This is things fat people do, these are things skinny people do. Skinny people are this way, fat people are that way. And that way of looking at the world really simplifies it to just make categorizing things and really just takes up less brain power to observe the world. The problem with this is the nuances of things get completely lost. Another thing that our brain does in the same way is uses metaphors. So think of the idea of when you wake up in the morning. Something a lot of people will say is, oh, I don't have much energy today, or I do have energy today. I feel full of energy, or I don't have energy. When you use these terms, you're framing the world in a certain way. So the idea of that there is this thing called energy, and you've either got lots of it, or you've got a little bit of that. Now we almost paint a mental picture of this. I know for me, when I think of the world from an energy standpoint, like I've got lots of energy or I've got little energy, I think of it like a fuel gauge on a car. Like there's a full and there's an empty. And it's like I wake up and depending on how I feel, I'll say, I don't have much energy today. And the way I'll visualize that in my mind is like a fuel gauge and I've got only a little bit in there, almost like I'm almost out of petrol. And then on the days where I feel energetic, I'll think, wow, I've got lots of energy today, and I see it that way. The reality is that there is no such thing as an energy gauge in our brain. In fact, there's not even such thing as energy necessarily. It's simply a concept. It's something that's made up in language to explain how you feel, a certain result. The problem is our brains are so incredibly capable at taking these generalized concepts and turning them into reality. So because of this, you are essentially telling your brain with this metaphor or this idea, we don't have much energy. You need to conserve energy. You need to be more tired. You need to try and go to sleep more. And on the other side, when you're telling it it's full of energy, it's giving it permission to go faster, do more, be more that day. So often we think that our thoughts are a reflection of how the things actually are, when in fact what we're doing is we're using our brain and our thoughts to put the constraint on our mind and our body. So with this concept, you've got to really look at the world and see where these metaphors are coming up in your life. So I've done one with the idea of my metabolism. I always struggled with weight growing up, and I would always say I've got a slow metabolism, and other people have fast metabolism. That's why they lose weight. I have a slow one, they have a fast one. And then in my mind, I would visualize the idea of a metabolism. And I always saw that almost like a furnace, like you're shoveling coal into the furnace and it would burn. And other people had a really efficient furnace, and for me, mine was slow. That was how I almost visualized that. And I was sort of telling my body I have a slow metabolism. I know this sounds weird, but I actually believe that by having those thoughts regularly, I'm training my body to have a slower rate of burn than somebody who would be visualizing having a fast metabolism, who just thinks that they can eat it and burn it off. You're essentially giving your body permission to burn calories faster, for instance. Like I said, no science behind a lot of this as far as I'm concerned, but it's my experience, and I would say that there's some aspects to it that can be really useful if you embody some of this stuff. Another thing I see a lot of people doing is using it when they're talking about being down or depressed or upset. There's a real visualization that goes with it that can be really detrimental. Even when we're trying to solve problems in our life, you'll sometimes come up against a problem just like, oh, I'm just stuck. Even the idea of saying I'm stuck, there's a visualization that goes with that. When you say I'm stuck, I can't break through this problem, I can't break through this barrier, you're visualizing the world as a barrier and as you being stuck. So once again, from that place, your body and your mind is creating a very vivid picture and story of it. So what's the solution to all this? Firstly, if you can, you want to try and catch yourself where you're using this unconsciously. Because when you use it consciously, it's okay. Especially if you're doing it intentionally and you're using it to empower yourself and get the outcome that you desire. Where it's unhelpful is where it's holding you back and it's happening to you when you don't realize it. You want to pick it up in your language, how you talk about things. That's often where it'll manifest itself. And you'll notice that there will be things you say over and over and over, and you're just reinforcing the same story. So often where you're stuck, where you're struggling, when you've got a problem that just won't go away, have a look at how you're speaking about it, because I would suspect that will give you some indication of how you're unconsciously framing that in your world, about how difficult something is, or how the world is, or how people are, or how situations are. Then you can take it to the next level by intentionally recreating those things and using the metaphors. And this is something I've seen happen with hypnosis and NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming. They'll often use visualizations where you'll think of something and you go in and you'll turn up the dial, or you'll break something, or you'll tear something down. Those metaphoric ways of doing things can retrain the brain in a lot of ways. So let's say you have the energy level. What you can do is, on those days when you have low energy and you think, oh my God, I've got so little energy today, you just go inside and you just think, okay, let me refuel the energy. Let me put some fuel in the tank. Let me get the energy dial and switch it up. Do those internal visualizations and actually believe that that will make the difference. And you'll be surprised how it actually can manifest in reality. The mind's a very powerful thing, and you can use your language to create your world. This is something that I've used myself. I used to be 140 kilos. Now I'm down to almost 90. And getting rid of some of these negative imagery and these metaphors have been incredibly useful in achieving that goal. My business, the exact same thing. I was really stuck and unable to do certain things and take it to the next level. And I would use that all the time. I can't get through that level. There's just something holding me back. And when I was able to break that and change how I was talking about things, everything changed. So I hope that is helpful, and you can use this strategy to go and take away some of those unconscious metaphors and get to a new, better place in your life. Thanks for watching.